Hey guys, in this video, we're just going to get right down to business, and I'm going to share with you the actual secret behind how I've been able to make over $1 million in the past 22 months working in tech for myself as an automation consultant without any experience. Forget about the money, honestly, because that's maybe the least significant part of my whole story. I mention it, but it's literally just a number. And really, it's an abstraction for all of the cool shit that I feel like I've built in the past 2 years. I've created invoicing tools and sales funnels and churn mitigation workflows and AI agents. I've stood up productized services and web apps and SaaS platforms. I've done all of this without having any prior experience in tech. And to this day, I still don't know how to code. And that hasn't been a barrier for me to work with and consult for some incredibly powerful high net worth business operators. I get genuinely excited sharing this because what I'm about to reveal has changed the entire trajectory of my life. And what's equally as crazy is that I feel like so much of what I've learned boils down to a single core concept. So if you're thinking about getting started on your AI and automation consulting journey, really try and internalize this because it's going to give you such a massive head start, especially if you're someone like me. In order for this to sink in, I want to use an example. Let's consider a basic website or web app. It lets you log in, create posts, message with other people, watch videos, and it has premium subscriptions. Back in the 90s, building something like this would have been such a massive undertaking because you would effectively have to build each piece of it, every single component and feature from scratch. But we have come a long way since Web 1.0. I mean, some of the this is an intrusive thought, some of the WebGL graphics that we don't think twice about interacting with as just like consumers on the internet in 2025 would make Alan Turing shit his pants. It's 1 a.m. Here in New York City, and I'm starting to lose my filter, but just stay with me because the advancement of technology is compounding, right? It's abstracting away complexity at each layer of the stack, which is a term that you might have heard get thrown around before. Basically, for the past 35 years, developers haven't just been building websites, they have been building tools and products at every incremental layer of the web. Right? 90% of these tools that I'm talking about, like we only ever interact with indirectly as a consumer. That's a made up number, but just picture an iceberg. Okay, but what does any of this have to do with building AI or automations for consulting clients? Also, Josh, don't you mostly use no-code tools? I promise I'm going to bring this full circle in just a sec, so stay with me. So to create this app now in the year 2025, we need to solve for authentication so that users can log in. And we need a database to store posts. And we need messaging and an interface for that messaging and a backend and notifications. And then we need video storage and a video player and payment rails. As an engineer, like that constitutes all of the underlying functionality that we need to develop in order to support the features that we're making available to the user. But now here's where it all comes together. Because the tech ecosystem has gotten so incredibly modular to the point where we can build practically anything without building anything. Watch this. For authentication, rather than building our own ground-up login architecture, we can use a third-party platform called Clerk, which handles user logins and allows us to integrate with Google. And we can use Supabase to store all of our posts. And we can use Sendbird to handle all of our messaging, top to bottom, including analytics and notifications and the actual UI. Everything that goes into messaging can be solved with this one third-party platform. And then we can use Stripe to manage all of our payments. All of these apps and platforms that I'm talking about are built for the use case that I'm describing. They were created so that developers like me and you, even if you don't think of yourself as a developer yet, can white label them and fold them into our app in a way that's so elegant users can't even tell that we didn't necessarily build them from scratch. The times when I'm working on a project and I actually need to build something that's truly novel are relatively sparse, depending on the application, of course. But that isn't a bad thing, nor does it take away from the value that we are creating. We can still innovate, right? By stitching all of these structural tools together and creating something that is net new for our users. Think about a chef. They're sourcing the best ingredients and combining them together in a way that's exciting. But it's not like they're going to the depths of the Amazon rainforest and unearthing some brand new fruit that no one has ever tasted. And when we don't have to be responsible for building every little thing that goes into an app, it means that we can move incredibly quickly. I mean, whenever I find myself trying to really explain this dynamic, I always find myself thinking of that Isaac Newton quote. If I've seen further, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, right? It's like we're able to build in this cost-effective, incredibly efficient way because we have like all of the past like resources that were created by people just like propelling us forward. I know that sounds kind of weird. Now, I know that for the person who's out there, who's like me and watching this, who doesn't have any experience in tech, this might still feel a little daunting because if you just Googled clerk, you might find that in order to use that tool and some of these other ones, we still have to write code. It's more like connecting it. But guess what? If you've ever used Zapier or Make or N8N, you have written code before. If we jump into Make and export a blueprint, look at this. It's JSON. Like that's code. These two things are exactly the same. It's just that one of them is being represented visually with a bunch of colorful modules, and the other one is written in syntax. Regardless of your preferred medium, the logic is exactly the same. And that's what actually matters. Like I find that when I'm working on these client projects, I spend an inordinate amount of time just sitting down with a pencil and paper and drawing out a flowchart. Once we have that, I find that like 80% of the project is already done. Getting back on track though, this dynamic is why I haven't found the jump from working with predominantly no-code tools to writing code using Cursor or Windsurf to generate it. Just for clerical purposes, I only use AI IDEs when I'm writing code because otherwise I would be totally lost. And then I have AI like walk me through the code of the logic in order to understand the mechanics of whatever it came up with and how it's constructed, right? I find it just eerily similar to building in make.com. I am using the exact same part of my undersized, probably like dented prefrontal cortex. And I find it so funny when people see me working in an IDE and they get intimidated or they think it's impressive, right? Like it's not. It's honestly the same thing. They just have this certain mental block. And so that is the big thing that I want you guys to take away from this video. Tech and the complexity associated with building software is being abstracted away by all of these no-code tools and by these LLMs that are getting more and more performant every day at writing code. And beyond that, all of these tools are becoming increasingly modular so that as long as we can craft logic and think about businesses fundamentally and the problem sets that they're facing and the ways that we can solve them, we can make a ton of money and create, more importantly, just tons of value working for businesses as a consultant. Okay, it's 1:18 a.m. I have to go to bed, guys. I have a call with a client tomorrow at 10:30, so I should be fine, but I do need my 8 hours. And most of the time I don't get my 8 hours. So I got to run. But I could talk about this stuff all night. I honestly just, there's nothing I would rather be doing other than maybe in this exact case, sleeping. But I love it so much that I've actually started taking on mentees. So in a sort of one-to-one capacity, I will work with people and help them get started on their automation consulting journeys. I'm very particular about who I work with, just as like a heads up. I think in like the last month or round that I did this, I took on 7 people, and I'm not just me. I have a team of 5 full time. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out. But again, I can't guarantee that like there's a fit. It's all case by case. Otherwise, I hope this video was really helpful. I'm pretty much brand new to YouTube. So if you liked this video or anything that I did here, or you just want to support me, even though you didn't really like the video, whatever, just do whatever you're supposed to do. Like comment, send me a nice note or send me hate mail. Regardless, I will see you guys really soon. I'm going to be posting more often. So yeah, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.